We'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for joining on. Apologies for any confusion with the platforms. My name is Neil Weir. I'm co-director of Right to Democracy along with Addie Martinez-Roman. And we're proud to represent Tupe Smith and Michael Pesse as they face criminal charges from the state of Alaska that is criminally targeting them and other American Samoans who live in Whittier, Alaska. We're here today just following an argument before the Alaska Court of Appeals, which last year took up Tupe Smith's petition, questioning the state's position that voter misconduct could be charged without requiring any intent to mislead or deceive a public official. And that narrow legal question that's before the court today could set forth how these cases might proceed, both in Tupe's case, but also in Michael and other family members' cases as well. I'm here today with Tupe Smith and Michael Pesse, who will be talking a little bit later. Also here with my co-counsel, Charles Aleima, who is an attorney from American Samoa. And then also Whitney Brown and Jake Garish from Stoel Rives. Whitney argued the case today before the Alaska Court of Appeals. So I'll start by handing it off to my colleague, Charles Aleima, to just give a little bit of basic overview of how things got to where they are today with the state criminally targeting the American Samoan community in Whittier. Charlie?
Thank you, Neil, and thank you all for joining us today. This case commenced basically a couple of years ago when Tupe Smith decided that she wanted to run for an office in a small town of Whittier, Alaska, to run for school board. She was encouraged to run for school board. She did run, and she won. Unfortunately, people looked into her background and said, "Oh, and made a complaint to the Alaska State Office saying, "Oh, she is a U.S. She is from American Samoa," and the question was whether American Samoans could vote. There was a question about whether they could vote or not in elections in Alaska. The state of Alaska decided that they were not going to deal with it administratively, but rather they were going to deal with this as a criminal matter. And they got an arrest warrant issued for Tupe, came out to Whittier and arrested her in front of her family and in front of the entire community, and took her 50 miles away to the women's facility there, where they basically processed her, and she was immediately bailed out by her husband, who had followed, and the prosecution began on the issue of her illegally voting because she is a U.S. national, but not a U.S. citizen. The question was, the prosecution was basically she voted illegally under the laws of Alaska because she was not a U.S. citizen. Neil and I then got involved in the matter when we heard about it, and Right to Democracy decided that they would like to assist. We got the assistance of Stoel Rives and Whitney here because they were the local contacts, and through their great help, we were able to take on this issue that was before the criminal courts. This issue that has now gone up on appeal is done before trial, so that no trial has been set yet. And the issue that has been presented is what is the standard for criminal misconduct? The issue of whether there was an intention. The state says no. The intent, to commit a crime comes when you tick a form that said you were a citizen and you were not a citizen, and that you knew that you were not a citizen. So this particular issue of intent is what's before the appeal court today, and we hopefully will get a resolution of that, which may or may not be dispositive of the full case, but at least it would give us guidance and the state guidance on what the law is when these kind of situations happen. So we have gotten a lot of support from the community, but basically that is where we're at this point in time.
And what's striking about where the case is at now in the state's position is they, even acknowledging that Ms. Smith had been told by a public official to check the box saying she was a U.S. citizen because there was not a box for U.S. nationals. The state is still arguing that she should be prosecuted because she knew that information was not correct, even if they were to concede that she had no intent to mislead or deceive, or that she wasn't trying to vote unlawfully. The state is taking a very kind of aggressive position that all that matters is she provided information she knew to be false on that voter registration form, and that as a result, she could face up to 5 to 10 years in jail. So we, as I said, we have Whitney Brown here with us, who argued the case today before the Alaska Court of Appeals. Whitney, can you just share a little bit about what happened in the courtroom today?
Sure. Yeah, first of all, we're really glad and grateful that the Court of Appeals decided to take up this really important question of law, and to do so in a fairly uncommon posture. That is, it happened in the middle of Tupe's trial court proceedings, where her predecessor counsel asked the court to hear this narrow question of law before the trial court case was over. So we're grateful that the court even entertained this question. We're also grateful to hear today in the courtroom the court expressing some skepticism of the idea that someone who entirely lacked an intent to mislead or deceive could face felony charges and up to 5 years in prison. So that was encouraging. Of course, attorneys spend a lifetime trying to figure out how a trial court or court of appeals will rule after an argument, and we've done some of that in the last hour or so. Ultimately, it's hard to know which way the court is going to rule. It was asking hard questions of both sides. But we, and by we I mean Neil and Charlie and my colleague Jake Garish and Jim Torgerson, who couldn't make it today, have been really honored to represent Tupe and her family, and we look forward to continuing to do so.
Thanks, Whitney. So wanted to have a bit of a conversation with Mike and Tupe about how this all has been impacting their family and impacting their community. Maybe starting with you, Tupe, if you could talk about just some of the impacts that you felt since you've been charged, just even in your own, personal family and your extended family in Whittier.
Yes, so I used to volunteer in the school a lot, but before I went to jail for that, I decided to not volunteer anymore to the school. Not just that, I have homeschooled my son from going to school just because of everything that has been happening. I feel like being on that board, I wasn't appreciated. I wasn't welcomed, to be on there to represent our Samoan kids that are in Whittier, especially my son being in that school. So it has been a lot of stress, being in that position, not to volunteer and not to be able to help the school, especially my son starting to go to the school, because I volunteered all my time before he was born. But then I feel like after everything that has happened, it was during the time that my son was going to school. So it has been a lot of stress. So, yeah.
And I think just to give people some context too, can you talk a little bit about just kind of how small a community Whittier is, how the living arrangements and just kind of how close everyone is, with each other?
Yeah, Whittier, everybody, there is 2 buildings, but most of the people live in the building that we lived in, which is Baggage Tower, the PTI. I haven't had a lot of contact with people after everything that had happened. So, but there are people that are supportive of us, you know, especially with my mother-in-law's friends who have been really supportive. But
Thanks. And Mike, if you can maybe talk a little bit about, you know, the impact on the family. You know, your mother has also been charged, several of your siblings, cousins. Can you just talk a little bit about kind of how that's had some impacts for your family?
Yeah, thanks, Neil. Like what Tupe said, Whittier, it's a really small town. More than 80 or 90% of the town live in this one big building called a BTI. And if anything happens to Whittier, the whole town wouldn't know about it because there's only 100, 200, couple hundred people that lives in Whittier year round. But like Tupe said, most of our, we made Whittier our home. And what we did, we volunteer most of our time over there. Like for myself, I work as a first responder with the fire emergencies over there in Whittier. I even had a brother who's still volunteering for the Whittier Fire Department right now, currently driving the ambulance back and forth. We give back to our community. We have this sense of servitude or giving back to the community. We made Whittier our home, and it's like a little family for us. So we still want to continue doing that, and being prosecuted by the Alaska government has made us feel unwelcome, has feel alienated, made us feel like every good thing that we did and we've done for the community it's been thrown away, you know.
Mhm.
And it's been affecting us mentally, and especially my mom with the high stress. She had a stroke, ended up in hospital with her brain bleeding in the brain. And then now that she has been diagnosed with a stage 4 cancer, which is the one that she has is LMS, which is leiomyosarcoma, has no cure and is very aggressive. And she was told last week that she has a couple months left to live if she doesn't go through chemo. Sorry. But at her age, she's 66 years old, and see that the Alaska state government still want to prosecute her while she's facing this medical challenge. That's kind of unbelievable.
Yeah, and just to
And-
give
and,
some even broader context, Michael's mother, Millie, is represented by the public defender here in Alaska, who has shared that health information with the state, asking them as a matter of discretion to drop the charges against her, given that she has a terminal cancer diagnosis. Despite the state being aware of that, the state's continued to prosecute her, even as she faces these severe health challenges. Would like to hear maybe a little bit from both of you just about kind of your experiences leading up to and in the courtroom today, kind of how you felt about having the Court of Appeals take up this question. I know it can be a very judicial proceedings can be very anxiety producing, but would just love just a few short words about kind of what the experience was like for you personally today.
This whole morning, I was really anxious and felt like a lot of weight on me, like it's been piling on top of me. But seeing the support of the bunch of different nonprofit organizations that reached out and helped us, especially Right to Democracy and the attorneys here at Stoel Rives. We really do appreciate you guys, and PCA and the ACLU Alaska, that helped relieve some of the pressures that I was feeling, especially in front of the court today and inside the court hearing. So.
And maybe that's a good transition, beyond the impact this has had on Tupe and Michael and their family. There is a broader community context to how this criminal targeting by the state of Alaska of American Samoans, based on where they were born, based on their designation as so-called non-citizen US nationals, there are some broader community concerns. Charlie, can you talk a little bit about some of that broader community context and the support from the community, not just here in Alaska, but also back home in American Samoa?
Yes, one of the things that we wanted to do is ensure that people understood what was going on in the American Samoan community. And so we did make contact with a lot of the local Alaska community organizations, Samoan organizations and churches to try to advise them about what was going on. And if you know Samoan community organizations, various ones, they sometimes have a lot of conflict among themselves. This one, they all came together, no matter what their internal disputes were, they all came together to support this particular action that was being taken. And I was very happy to see that, because that is not a usual way these organizations, that sometimes they're very competitive among each other. So but they did all unify and basically have that support. Beyond the state of Alaska, we also then sought out the support of the community down in American Samoa. And we've got a great deal of support of the community in American Samoa about this situation. And we got the governor of American Samoa to write a letter to the governor of Alaska, asking him to basically, why not treat this administratively rather than through this criminal process? So we did get a great deal of support there. We also got good support from the Congresswoman to be able, Amata Radawagan, who also wrote to the governor asking that to deal with this matter administratively, not through the criminal process, because American Samoans are basically born owing their allegiance to the United States. And in fact, the reality is that an American can come down to American Samoa and vote, you know. So a reciprocal type of idea would be appropriate, but those requests from the high authorities in American Samoa have not been approved, and so we continue to have this issue of felony criminal prosecutions against Samoans or against these 11 defendants, mostly from Michael and Tupe's family. But the problem is that this issue does not just affect them. Many American Samoans were registered to vote, and this has created a issue. We're trying to remedy that to make sure that everybody understands the law as it is being interpreted and written now, so that they do not continue to get themselves in trouble, but at the same time trying to assert before the courts here that American Samoans are not foreigners. They are part of the American system. They are American nationals holding passports, and that they should not be put in this situation. So these are the issues that are going to be coming up. This case itself, the decision of the court here does not totally resolve the problems, but it goes a long way to at least getting some standards by which these cases can be prosecuted. We hope that the standards will be set in a way that will give appropriate consideration to this situation that American Samoans face.
And that's one of the things that's a bit astonishing about these cases, is even as the very basic question of what are the elements of this crime of voter misconduct remain pending before the Alaska Court of Appeals, the state of Alaska has charged additional defendants like Michael Pese and is insisting on taking these cases to trial, all 11 of them, as soon as possible, regardless, it seems, how the Court of Appeals might rule on this specific question of criminal intent. So with that in mind, with the state pushing to take these Alaska residents who are born in American Samoa to trial. Looking ahead, a decision from the Court of Appeals is expected on this question of what's the standard for criminal intent. We expect a decision on that in the next 3 to 6 months. Before then, the other cases are still at the trial court level. There will be additional filings and additional defenses raised in those cases in the coming weeks. And so we'll provide more information about that as that moves forward. And, you know, unfortunately, it seems we're still kind of at the beginning of this journey, and that this argument today before the Alaska Court of Appeals is really going to just be part of that story. It looks like this is going to continue forward for some time, so long as the state remains committed to criminally prosecuting people despite there not being any intent to do anything wrong. And with that, we want to go ahead and open it up to questions. Probably the easiest way to do that is for folks to raise their hands. We'll go ahead and start with folks who are from the media. If anyone from the media has a question they would like to ask, they can do so at this time. And then if we have time, we'll take questions from other people as well. And I do see also that we have Andra Samoa on the call too, from the governor's office in American Samoa. Andra, if you would like to say something at some point, we would welcome that as well. Go ahead, Matt, if you want to take yourself off mute or have someone take him off mute so he can ask his question. Matt from the Alaska Current.
Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you.
can hear
Okay, so we talked briefly today at the event just about the sort of path forward as far as, you know, some of the other criminal cases and all that sort of stuff. Is there anything you heard today as far, you know, from the discussions that would lead you to, I guess, kind of, is there any sort of tea leaves to divine here as far as how the oral arguments went today? Are you guys confident about it? It seemed like on the issue of intent, the justices were pretty clearly on your guys' side, but is that what you guys see? And are you guys still sort of expecting a multi-month wait for an outcome here?
Yeah, I think as Whitney suggested, it's always, you know, kind of read the tea leaves and reach conclusions kind of at your own peril. We were pleased to see several of the judges questioning this idea that someone could face up to 5 years in jail without having any intent to mislead or deceive. Exactly how they decide the case and what that looks like, we're going to have to wait. Typically, these decisions take 3 to 6 months, and so we'll have to wait to see how the court decides. And as soon as they do, we'll be sure to let everyone know. Julie, go ahead. If you can introduce yourself and what press you're with. You're on mute, Julie, if you want to get off mute.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm not with the media. I'm an assistant attorney general in the Virgin Islands Department of Justice. And what I'm not familiar with is whether there is a move afoot to be able to make a change to the legislation regarding voting rights in this community, or so that U.S. nationals can in fact vote. And if that change were to take effect, and if it could be essentially retroactive, would that potentially moot this criminal claim? I know it wouldn't probably change the fact that people checked U.S. citizen, that U.S. citizen. And frankly, why are the people who gave that advice to check the box? I mean, it seems like if anything else, they should be indicted as well as trying to make this criminal behavior happen. So I know that's a lot of questions all in one, but I really don't know what steps are being taken so that it sounds like there's a significant community that is disenfranchised. I guess those are my questions.
Yes. We know that the Alaska legislature understands and knows of this, because I did testify between both to committees at both the House and the Senate level at the Alaska legislature, giving them basically the history of U.S. national status and the status of American Samoa. So they are in the context of Tupe's case, and they also brought in the Alaska prosecutor who was dealing with the case to give his testimony. It was clearly they acknowledged, yes, we have a problem with our forms and we do have a problem with other things, so that and they have made changes to their forms to at least prevent this kind of confusion, hopefully going forward. We did at the at the kind of get together that we had at the courthouse today, one of the representatives from Alaska for this area in Anchorage did come forward, and one of the senators, he says, yes, I am working hard to try to get some kind of legislation passed to avoid this kind of problem, and to also give, hopefully try to find ways to give rights to who he understood was a very important group of people who live within within his district and in Anchorage. So there was an acknowledgement that the Samoans here are very much a part of this community and should have a say.
Yeah, we're very appreciative for Alaska State Senator Forrest Dunbar coming and showing his support for the community this morning at the solidarity event that preceded the argument in this case. We'll take another couple questions. Tupe Rives, if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, my name is Tupe Rives. I am currently a legislative aide for Representative Genevieve Mina, and I am of American Samoan descent. I am a U.S. national currently, and I work for the state in her office. And I would only say that Bill Wielechowski is the only active legislator currently that is working on some kind of status reform for American Samoans specifically. And his office seems to be the only one I know that is putting policy forward, whereas ours is, my representative is for Health and Social Services. She's the chair for the Hess community, or for the Hess committee. And my only thing is just a word of encouragement to our people out there and your families, that this is probably a catalyst for what is to come later. And I know it's really hard, and I know that there's a lot of discourse and unfamiliarity and things that are just in the air basically, but just know that a lot of us here, like boots on the ground, a lot of our legislators like Forrest Dunbar, who is the senator that works with my representative closely, that there are people that are here in the state capitol that are like rooting for you guys, and that are also trying to figure out what's going on. And just a word of encouragement for our people. And there should be more policy, but we don't officially start the legislative session the 34th till the 20th, so after MLK Day. So that's just another point of information for people. But yeah, my only question is that, is there anything that people who work in the state can do in order to help your guys' efforts? Is there any way that we can do public testimony or anything? I'm currently stationed in Juneau right now, but if there's any way that I am able to help, I am more than willing to get on a plane or be there in person if need be. Thank you.
Wonderful. We thank you, and we thank your boss, who was part of a House Judiciary Committee hearing that Charles Alima testified at. Taffy Tolifoa from the Pacific Community of Alaska also testified, where they asked the state a lot of hard questions about how the DMV processes voter applications, what are the election rules under the state, and they didn't get a lot of great answers from the state, because it was clear the state officials were very confused by this non-citizen national status. We were very pleased to see the Alaska State Senate actually pass a resolution in support of the American Samoan community here, as did the City Council in Whittier. I think there's a lot more that can be done. We'll reach out separately with you and your boss to continue that forward. But really do appreciate your support. Any final questions before we wrap up? Not seeing anything. Thank everyone for your time. We'll send out some more information to folks, and there's going to be a lot more in the coming weeks and months on these issues. Julie, do you want to end with maybe one more question or comment?
Yes, you're unmute if you'd like to speak. Okay, I'm speaking. Can you hear me? Yes? Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
No?
Go
Yes?
ahead.
Okay, good. So I just wanted to say that I know this has been hard on you, but to me it looks like you are the trailblazers and that you should take pride. You were put out in front and maybe not willingly, but since you're out front there, you should hold your head high and fight this battle with a lot of pride for your roots and for what you're trying to do in the community you live in now. And, and I think that will help get through these difficult times as you face in obviously the building where you live, and just be, going forth with your held head held high, because you're going to be the ones going down in the history books as making these changes that needed to happen, it sounds like. So I just wanted to, I really didn't know about this issue located on the other side of the world, but I'm just really proud of what you've done and what you're doing.
Well, thank you, Julie. And at Right to Democracy, we're all about the cross-territorial solidarity. So love to hear the support from the Virgin Islands. And, going, I guess, to the other side of the Pacific, Andra Samoa, who works in the governor's office. She's also an environment and democracy fellow with Right to Democracy. Andra, why don't you go ahead with any comments or questions? And again, we greatly appreciate Governor Pula's support of the families here and pushing the Alaska governor to pursue administrative remedies to this issue, as opposed to criminalizing this hardworking community of American Samoans. Go ahead, Andrew. You're off mute, it looks like.
Can you hear me?
Not really. You're very quiet.
Oh, can you hear me now?
A little bit. It's not kind of full volume. You might need to go closer to your mic.
Oh, okay. Let me.
Oh, now you're good.
Okay. So, my name is Andra Samoa, Talofa Tupe and Mike.
Oh, Andrew.
Yeah, I am so proud to be part of this, and I know that our governor, he shared in his letter that he went through the same process. He checked that he's a U.S. citizen on getting his security clearance. And they asked him, why did you check a U.S. citizen when you're not a U.S. citizen? And he said, I pledge allegiance to the flag when I was young, George Washington I learned about, and all this. He put it in the letter. And I know, thank you for Neil and Charlie. But I'm wondering, Neil and Charlie, are there other incidents like governor that he's sharing with the governor of Alaska, that there are other circumstances that other Samoans checked U.S. citizens when they're U.S. national? So, and it's just really for me proud that the governor shared what happened to him. He did get his security clearance from the federal government, but he was told that was not allowed by him. So nevertheless, I don't know what happened. But I'm also going to be meeting with Manua leadership, and I will share this meeting with them, because they're also concerned with other environmental issues, and they will be meeting with the governor tomorrow. But I will definitely share Tupe and Mike's situation, and also with this conference. Thank you.
Yeah, just with respect to whether it's just Tupe and their family, no, there are quite a few American Samoans that are in this situation up here in Alaska. Other states have faced this also too, but they've dealt with it administratively, not criminally. This is the only state that is prosecuting people criminally, and they're not just this family, but it is a possibility that there are a lot of American Samoans that are in this situation.
And this was an issue that actually came up at the argument today, where one of the judges recognized that under Alaska law, for certain purposes, American Samoans are defined as being US citizens for certain public benefits programs. For others, they're not recognized as citizens and they're ineligible. And so there's confusion built into not just the forms, but actually the law here in Alaska. That's true in other states. That's true at the federal level. American Samoans often encounter situations where even if it's just at the line at the airport, what line am I supposed to get into? There's a line for US citizens and there's a line for aliens. There's not a line for American Samoans. Which one are they supposed to choose? You're paying your taxes. It says, are you a US citizen or are you an alien? What box are you supposed to check? And it's these kinds of, sometimes almost it feels like daily occurrences where they're confronted with this anomalous status and have to make decisions. They ask officials, what am I supposed to do? They tell them to do something, they follow that guidance, and they end up being criminally prosecuted. So this puts them in a very difficult situation. It's very stressful, and there's no easy answers. And we're hoping that, at the end of all this, there can be some more clarity on what this all means. So we'll be in touch with more. We really appreciate Michael and Tupe taking some time to talk with everybody, what's been a long and stressful day for them. And so we'll let you all go and feel free and follow up individually if you have additional questions. You have my contact information. Thank you all very much.